Bhaktir Naiштhiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished. Text number 37. Swapranan Yaha Parapranaihi Swapranan Yah Parapranaihi Prapusnati Agranaha Khalaha Prapusnati Agranaha Khalaha Tadbaddha Tasya Hi Shreyaha
Tadbadhyastasya hi shreyo Taddoshan Yati Adaha Puman Yaddoshadhyati Adha Puman Swaprananya Paraprane Prapushnati Agranah Khalaha Tadvadhastasya hi shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adah Puman Swaprananya Adah Pranehi
Prapushnati Agranaha Khalaha Tadbaddhastasya hi Shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adha Puman
Swaprananya Parapranehi Prapushnati Agranah Khalaha Tadvadhastasya hi shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adah Puman
Swaprananya Parapranai Prapushnati Agrina Khala Tatvadastasya hi Shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adha Puman
Swaprananya Parapranaihi Prapushnati Agrana Khalaha Tadvadhastasya hi Shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adha Puman
Swaprananya Parapranaihi Prapushnati Agrana Khalaha Tatvadhastasya hi Shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adha Puman
Swaprananya Parapranha
Swaprananya Parapranai
Prapushnati Agrana Khalaha Tadvadastasya hi Shreyo
Yaddoshadhyati Adha Puman Matajis. Swaprananya Parapranai
Prapushnati Agranah Khalaha Tatvadastasya hi shreyo Yaddoshadhyati Adah Puman
Swapranam yah prano paro prano hi
Swaprananya Parapranai
Prabhushadhyat Agriha Khalaha
Prapushnati Agrana Khalaha
Tadvadatasya hi Shreyo Yad Sadhyat अधः पुमान्
यद्दोषाद्याति अधः पुमान्
स्वप्राणान्यः परप्राणैः
स्वप्राणान्यपरप्राणैः
प्रपुष्णात्यग्रनखलः
प्रपुष्णाति अघृणः खलः
तद्वदस्तस्य हि श्रेयो
तद्बद्धस्तस्य हि श्रेयो
यद्दोषाद्यत्यदपुमान्
यद्दोषाद्याति अधः पुमान् ऑनलाइन स्वप्राणान्यः परप्राणैः प्रपुष्णाति अघृणः खलः तद्बद्धस्तस्य हि श्रेयो यद्दोषाद्याति अधः पुमान् स्वप्राणान्यः परप्राणैः प्रपुष्णाति अघृणः खलः तद्बद्धस्तस्य हि श्रेयो यद्दोषाद्याति अधः पुमान् स्वप्राणान्यपरप्राणैः प्रपुष्णाति अघृणः खलः तद्बद्धस्तस्य हि श्रेयो यद्दोषाद्याति अधः पुमान् synonyms स्वप्राणान् one's own life
one's own life.
यह
Yaha,
one who
one who
parapranihi
parapranehi
at the cost of others' lives
at the cost of
others'
others'
life.
life.
prapushnaanti
Prapushnati
maintains properly
maintains properly.
agranaha
Agranaha
shameless
shameless.
khalaha
Khalaha
wretched
Wretched.
tadbaddhaha
Tadvaddaha
killing of him
killing of him.
tasya
Tasya
his
His
he certainly
certainly.
shreyaha
Shreyaha
well-being
well-being,
yat
Yat
by which
by which
doshat
dosha
by the fault
by the fault
yati
yati
goes
goes
adhaha
Adaha
downwards
downwards,
puman
Puman
a person
a person.
translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai
Jai
Shri
Shri
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Translation: a cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. Translation with repetition: a cruel and wretched person
A
A cruel and wretched person
who maintains his existence
who maintains his existence
at the cost of others' lives
at the cost of others' lives
deserves to be killed
deserves to be killed
for his own well-being.
for his own well-being.
Otherwise, he will go down
Otherwise he will go down.
by his own actions. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A life for life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. Political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. That a murderer is condemned to a death sentence by the state is good for the culprit, because in his next life he will not have to suffer for his act of murder. Such a death sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him. And it is said in the Smriti Sastras that men who are punished by the king on the principle of a life for a life are purified of all their sins. So much so that they may be eligible for being promoted to the planets of heaven. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer because animal food is never meant for the civilized man, whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. He says that in the act of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy by the party of sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. He who gives permission, he who kills the animal, he who sells the slaughtered animal, he who cooks the animal, he who administers distribution of the foodstuff, and at last he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers, and all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has the right to kill a living being by one's independent whims. For the animal eaters, the scriptures have sanctioned restricted animal sacrifices only, and such sanctions are there just to restrict the opening of slaughterhouses and not to encourage animal killing. The procedure under which animal sacrifice is allowed in the scriptures is good both for the animal sacrificed and the animal eaters. It is good for the animal in the sense that the sacrificed animal is at once promoted to the human form of life after being sacrificed at the altar, and the animal eater is saved from grosser types of sins, eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions to society, country, and the people in general. The material world is itself a place always full of anxieties, and by encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So it's a very wonderful verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And who is speaking these words? Bhagavata Prabhu? Or Arjuna? Or is it Arjuna to Krishna? Okay. Aryan? Aswathama maybe. No?
Prabhu, it's Krishna to Arjuna.
Just because he told, or you think? Yes. 100%.
I think.
Okay. What do you think? What's your name? Ananya. Sorry. What do you think? Sab Krishna to Arjuna you bol rahe. Okay, anyway, that is the right answer. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. So we would probably expect in some other situations that Krishna has to be compassionate. Why would he talk about violence? And this kind of statement when Krishna is making, what is the real purport? What is the intention behind making a statement like this? Swaprananyah paraprane prapushnanti agranah khalaha tadbaddhastasya hi shreyo yaddoshadhyati adha puman. The answer is given in that verse. Swaprananyah parapranehi prapushnati agranah khalaha. So one who is maintaining himself properly. Prapushnati, this word prapushnati, it means who is maintaining himself properly. Prapushnati agranaha khalaha. Agranaha is translated by Prabhupada as shameless, and khalaha is a wicked, wretched person. So a person who is maintaining himself, what kind of a person he is? Agranaha and khalaha. Khala is wretched, agrana is shameless. So a shameless person who is wretched, who is maintaining himself, how is he maintaining? Yaha parapranahi, at the cost of others' lives. Swapranan yaha parapranehi. So he is maintaining himself at the cost of others' lives. Tad baddhas tasya hi shreyo. He should be finished. He should be killed. Tad baddhas tasya hi shreyo. It is better for him. Why? Yad doshad yati adha puman. If he continues to do his sinful activities, yati adha puman, he will go down. He will degrade himself further. Yad doshad yati adha puman. So this is the verse, and very interesting purport which Prabhupada has given as usual. So if we pay attention to this, what Prabhupada is saying here is, how do I get out of this? Okay. So if we see the purport, usually we would think a life for life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. But there will be something else which will happen as we move on with this chapter of son of Drona punished. But right now, for our understanding, it is given here that this material world is itself a place always full of anxieties. And by encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. And Prabhupada is giving a very graphic analogy of killing a person, human being, to that of killing an animal. And how there could be a party to kill an animal. Actually, there are 6 people who are mentioned here who deserve to get killed. He who gives permission first, then he who kills the animal. It is not working. He who kills the animals, he who sells the slaughtered animal, third. Then he who cooks the animal, fourth. Then he who administers distribution of the foodstuff, 5. And at last he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers. And all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. So you may say that I am not eating, but you may be cooking it for someone. You may say that I am not eating, I am not cooking, but you might have given some tacit approval, permission for killing the animal. Or you may, so these are all, there is one person who is killing, but there are so many people who are involved. Somebody has given a land, somebody has given a permission, okay, this is my cows or my this thing, but now they are of no use, useless, so now I am giving you permission, do whatever you want. So you are a murderer. He who sells the slaughtered animal, you didn't kill it, but you are selling it, you are still a murderer. He who cooks, we saw. He who administers distribution, you didn't cook, you didn't kill, you didn't sell that, you didn't give permission, but you are helping in distribution, you are serving that. You are also murderer. And at last, he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers, and all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. No one can create a living being, so despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has the right to kill a living being by one's independent whims. This is the logic which the laws of nature or the Manusmritis are talking about. But however, there is an exception which Prabhupada mentions, that if a proper sacrifice is performed, where an animal is sacrificed, then if the sacrifice is performed properly, then the animal will immediately get delivered or will be elevated to a human being. And the person who is performing the sacrifice, he will not enter into the sinful activities of getting it from the organized slaughterhouses, and he'll also be, the material afflictions will not affect him. There is a process of sacrifice which is there if somebody wants to eat. It is basically an excuse for reducing that urge of eating. It is good for the animal in the sense that the sacrificed animal is at once promoted to the human form of life after being sacrificed at the altar, and the animal eater is saved from grosser type of sins, eating meat supplied by the organized slaughterer. So he is freed from the sins, but it is just an excuse that how this sacrifice has to be performed properly, then only one can eat, if at all one has to eat. So these are the points that we are taking. So important thing that I want you to pay attention to is in this chapter, when some natural calamities come to human beings or to human society, we often find reasons as to why this is happening, or we find blame for different things. that maybe because of somewhere something, global warming is happening, somewhere some other problem is going on, and we try to link those problems independently. But here, this last sentence of this purport, Prabhupada is saying that the material world is itself a place always full of anxieties. And by encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. Actually, if we increase our sinful activities, the sinful activities lead to all kinds of natural calamities. In a human form of life, always, people ask this question as to how we should work. What is the methodology or what is the process of working? I'll just stop my video so that, I can write it properly. Even if you're joining on Zoom, you will be able to see this nicely. We will talk about this, confusion which people usually have as to how we should act. Or what is this process of karma yoga? Because there are sins which are involved in every single step. So what do we do and how do we do? So how many of you read the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita? The pre-reading, all of you. Only translations. Pura pad liya. Translation purport. Okay, let us see. This chapter 3 is a very interesting chapter and very important to know. Then all these things, whatever is mentioned, will make a lot of sense. How many of you have understood chapter 3 very well? Read to theek hai. How many of you have understood chapter 3? Right? Pada kya? Chapter 3. Amol, you didn't read? Achha. You didn't see the message? Or you saw? Chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Anybody knows what is the title, the Sanskrit title for this? Karma Yoga. Very good. Sabko malum hai. So what is Karma Yoga? What is Krishna trying to tell here? Let us try to understand that. So you read, all of you read, right? How does the chapter begins? Arjuna's question. What was Arjuna's question?
Fruitive activities. Then why should I do the karma?
What is the meaning of that? What is the understanding? Okay, you read it. What is the meaning of that question? Jyayasi chet karmanaste matta buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi Keshava. Arjuna said, O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you urge me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? How many of you have understood this question of Arjuna? Mataji, aap padhe? Padhe bhi nahi. Book laye? Chapter 3? Nahi. What is the meaning of this question of Arjuna? How many of you have understood? Hari, kya meaning hai?
This is not the ultimate goal. Means this is
not the ultimate goal, but he killed all the people.
Means because he was in illusion. So when
what is the illusion?
Intelligence is better than fruitive work. So he's trying to think that it is not very intelligent to engage in something like this, because it is not it is very fruitive. He's thinking that it is.
Anybody
fruitive.
else? Okay, you're trying whatever is written, trying to explain, but yeah, yes, bro.
Talking about this
Pragya.
Sthita Prajna.
Hmm.
So in that he's saying you should be completely restrained from objects of senses and aloof. So
Hmm.
it gives the impression to Arjuna that, oh, maybe this kind of activities should not be done.
Okay.
But on the other hand, previously in first chapter, Krishna has told Arjuna to pick up and fight. So he is confused.
In second chapter previously. First chapter he is not talking anything.
Second chapter.
Yeah. Okay. Um, there, but not there. Kind of achintya veda veda. Let us see. Actually, if you remember if you know one chapter, if you understand this chapter 3, because people keep talking about Bhagavad Gita means hum karma karenge, phal prapti ki aasa nahi karenge. That's all they know. But what is this chapter of Karma Yoga? And there are 43 verses, wonderful verses. And every chapter of Bhagavad Gita is very interesting. But this this chapter will give you an overview of how important for us to know what is our duty. And when we execute those duties, what happens? And when we don't do, what happens? And what are the different options that we have in front of us? What happens when we exercise those options? If you remember, Arjuna's first doubt that he had, which he spoke in the first chapter. Anybody remembers what are the doubts Arjuna had? The first doubt that he had was the compassion of Arjuna, right? Arjuna's compassion. He was talking that on the bodily platform, and he was telling, all these are worshipable people, how will I kill them? And Krishna gave answer in the second chapter in the form of Sankhya. Okay? What is Sankhya? Or Jnana? Soul. What is soul?
The soul is eternal, and then that if you kill those, and you're killing only the material body and not the soul.
Basically, he gave the difference between soul and body, right? That is how he spoke, how he addressed this question of Arjuna's, that compassion on bodily platform. Then Arjuna had this question that if I kill them, everybody will be finished, there will be nobody remaining. How will I enjoy? It's a loss for me, right? How will you enjoy if all your family members are gone? Or imagine they are here, but you are put into an island where you are all by yourself, but every opulence that you can think of is given to you. Still it is not pleasurable. So he was telling it's a loss-loss situation for me. If I win, there will be nobody who will be there with whom I can enjoy. If I lose, anyway I am losing. So it's in both way it is looking like loss-loss. And Krishna spoke about something called sakama karma. Sakama karma, or in other words, that is called the fruitive work. So he spoke about this fruitive work, which is nothing but it's a win-win situation. If you win, you get the kingdom. If you lose, then you will go to heaven, and in heavenly planets you will enjoy. He talked about this sakama karma, or win-win situation. Now, the next question that Arjuna had, anybody remembers what was Arjuna's further doubt that he had? Acronym सब रट्टा मारा था ना आप लोग? Indecision is the last one. That's in the second chapter. What were the doubts of Arjuna? That is the destruction of dynasty, Kulakshaya, Varnashankara. But before that, there is one more. So this is compassion, enjoyment, CESDI, if you remember. S is for sins. Which one? Sin. Yeah. My victory will be tainted with blood. So I'll incur sin by doing this. So he had told about the sin, fear of sinful actions. And that particular thing was countered by Krishna in the third chapter by in the second chapter itself, by something called Buddhi Yoga. Anybody remembers what is Buddhi Yoga? So you have to sit with attention to get something very, very precious. If you lose your attention or you're feeling sleepy and tired, you are the loser. Nobody else can be blamed for this. But if you want to understand really the third chapter, then you have to be very alert and see how this wonderfully Krishna has built this. Where is Buddhi Yoga mentioned in second chapter? 39. What is the verse? Esha te avihita sankhye buddhi yogam to imam shunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Actually, that Buddhi Yoga is the key. It is Krishna has, because second chapter is contents of Gita summarized. That means the entire Bhagavad Gita is put in that second chapter. And in second chapter, Krishna is only talking about Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga is nothing but colloquial term, if you want to say, it's a smart yoga. Right? What is a smart yoga? There are so many terms they are inventing. Donga, dog yoga. So we can also have something called smart yoga. The Vedic literatures basically talk about three paths. What paths? कितने paths दिखते हैं Vedic literature में? Three things Vedic literatures talk about. No. Ananya? मिल सकता है जॉब. आंसर दिया तो. Aryan? Somebody is feeling cold who's looking down. Madhav. Okay, he's not in this thing, not this world. What are the Vedic literatures talking about? What are those three paths? Karma, Jnana and Bhakti. Very good. That's the right answer. It is the right answer. Actually, 90% of the Vedic literatures talk about Karma Kanda. And what is Karma Kanda? Karma Kanda is nothing but attached engagement. Nine percent of Vedic literatures talk about Jnana. I'm not, you don't go and measure exactly, okay, 90% bola tha, isme to kam dikh raha hai. It is not like that. So 90%, 9% of Vedic literature is talking about Jnana, which is detached disengagement. And 1% talks about Bhakti. And this Bhakti is the path of, who wants to say, what is it? ये जो इधर लिख रहा हूँ उसके हिसाब से बोलो. Yeah, it is detached engagement. Now there can be somebody who can say, wait, attached disengagement is also possible, no? There is one combination which you left it. So actually somebody asked me also, in our WPI. It's very important to know what is attached engagement. 90% of people, 90% of the Vedic literature is talking about Karma Kanda. And in Karma Kanda, there is this attached engagement which is given. Means you do some activities, and while doing activities, you are also attached to the results. So you are doing activities and you are attached to the results. So you want to enjoy those results. That's what Karma Kanda. But you do it as per the Vedic injunctions so that you don't get the reactions for those actions. 9% is talking about Jnana. They don't do anything. All are neti. This is all Maya. There is no action. Heavy amount of renunciation. Very strongly detached. They're not in the bodily concept of life. This material world is Maya. So they are not doing any action. There is no action that they are performing. And they are also renounced. That is the path of Jnana. But imagine there is a path where you are doing your actions, where you are engaging in your activities, but you are remaining detached. That is the path of Bhakti. This is the best. I mean, you don't have to really go to some forest and become completely disengaged, or there is no engagement, no activity, and you have to be completely renouncing your material world. Nobody will take up to that path. But here that's what is, the Bhakti is very interesting, where it is, engagement is there, you're performing your action, but deep within, there is a sense of detachment. So if I have to put it in a sort of equation of what this Buddhi Yoga is, which Krishna has spoken here in this chapter, very interestingly, the definition of Buddhi Yoga in terms of a equation is, Buddhi Yoga is action which is performed in a solid platform of jnana, so that's why there is a line there, it's a solid platform, jnana, and there is the intentions is with bhakti, with the mood or with the thoughts of bhakti. This is what the definition of buddhi yoga is. Actually, Krishna explains this in the second chapter, 47th, 48th, 49th verse. He's talking about this. Are you all there? Okay. Now, very interestingly, Arjuna's question, if you understand, your appreciation for Bhagavad Gita will go up at least 30 times. So, this first question of Arjuna, because this is, mind you, our acharyas are commenting that second chapter is contents of Gita summarized. Means, if Arjuna would have been in the right position, in the right consciousness, all his answers are given there. That answers are all given and he would have fought. But he didn't fight, he had a doubt. So why that doubt came? And what is that? Because this doubt is coming immediately after the second chapter. By acharyas, this is considered to be a very important doubt. But 99% of the people who read Bhagavad Gita, they don't pay attention to Arjuna's doubt, or they don't have clarity as to why Arjuna was confused. What is this confusion? Let us understand Arjuna's confusion, because that will lead to a lot of appreciation for Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna's confusion here is, if I have to put it in a graphical way, so what we spoke just now is, the path of Sankhya, okay, or Jnana, Sankhya or Jnana, and the path of Sankhya or Jnana is, if we have to look it in two different parameters, in two different things, each of these things, one is in the form of action, and the other one is in the form of, let's say, detachment. If we just divide them in these two categories, so Sankhya or Jnana, there is no action. Let me use a different color. There is no action and there is heavy detachment, right? So there is, this I have to use another color. There is strong detachment. The second part that Krishna is talking about is sakama karma. Sakama karma. And in sakama karma, there is action, yes. Detachment is not present. No detachment. And then the last one is Buddhi Yoga, or Buddhi Yoga. And if you see in Buddhi Yoga, there is action and there is detachment, both. Now, very interestingly, if you look at this column, these two columns, okay, from Krishna's point of view, Krishna is telling that whether you take up to the path of Sankhya or Jnana, or whether you take up to the path of Buddhi Yoga, it is same, because he is talking from the detachment point of view. Whereas, if you see Arjuna, he is looking from the action point of view. So he thought that Krishna spoke about Sakama Karma Yoga, which is win-win, and in Buddhi Yoga also there is action which is involved. So he is looking at from the action point of view. He is seeing from this action point of view, and he is seeing that, he has spoken about this win-win situation earlier, Sakama Karma. Now he explained this Buddhi Yoga, where, again action is involved. So, but in both these cases, it is leading to warfare and it is leading to destruction. Is he talking about the same? Why is he talking to me about action when the important thing is detachment? So what is happening is, from Arjuna's point of view, he is looking at the action column, and Krishna is trying to say that actually Sakama Karma Yoga was rejected by Krishna, not yoga, that is, Sakama Karma was rejected by Krishna in the second chapter itself. He told that Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna Nirdvandva Nitya Sattvastvo Niryoga Shema Atmavan. So he told that, you have to rise above this karma kanda thing. You don't have to do this fruitive activities, all these things you have to give up. That is, there are 41, 42, 43 verses. He has rejected that. In fact, if you see very next, the third verse of this third chapter, where Krishna is telling, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical philosophical speculation, that is the path of Sankhya or Jnana, and others are inclined to know him by devotional work, Buddhi Yoga. He is talking that you have to remain detached. Actually, it is possible. Sankhya and Jnana is a bona fide path, where if somebody is very elevated, he can be detached and he may not do action. That is possible. But from Krishna's point of view, actually the whole Bhagavad Gita always is talking about Sankhya and Jnana and Buddhi. There is Buddhi or Bhakti Yoga, whatever you want to say that. This is only the difference. But from Arjuna's point of view, he got confused, thinking that, in Sakama Karma also there is action involved, and in this also it is action involved, Buddhi Yoga. So he's telling, why are you asking me to engage in this ghastly warfare? When you know that, if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work, he's still thinking about fruitive work. Actually, it is not a proper understanding of Buddhi Yoga, which Krishna explained in second chapter, which led to this question. But this question is a very important question when you see that, why Arjuna was confused from his point of view, and what Krishna was trying to tell is something else. He was telling only there are two paths. Either it is Sankhya or Jnana, or you take to the path of devotional work. But Arjuna was confused. Hence, that confusion led to further elaboration of Bhagavad Gita. Very interestingly, what happened after that was, Krishna, being a nice teacher, he understood, okay, my student is at this level. So he did not dilute the knowledge, but rather he disintegrated this. So what did he do? Basically, are you all there so far? So what Krishna did next was, Krishna divided this whole knowledge that he had given, the knowledge of Bhakti Yoga, or the detached engagement, into two parts. He divided this detached engagement into two parts, and the first one is actually called dutiful engagement, and the second is called the knowledge of engagement. So it is not a dilution. Dilution is different. You are not sharing the full thing, but it is breaking it to smaller parts so that we can understand it in a much better way. So knowledge of engagement. Actually, the whole third chapter is talking about dutiful engagement. Knowledge of engagement you will read in fourth chapter, and the combined this thing is given in the fifth chapter, or in detached engagement is more elaborately described in the fifth chapter, which is also known as Karma Sannyas Yoga. If you see, the entire Bhagavad Gita actually only is talking about this karma, action, or it is talking about jnana, which is given in even in 13th chapter. After 12th chapter, again he's talking about that. If you remember just this one thing, this diagram that I made, Buddhi Yoga is equal to action in the platform of jnana with the intention of bhakti. So you will find all the answers. So till 5th chapter, it is talking about, as I said, the detached engagement. And then 6th chapter is talking about the linking process, which is the dhyana yoga. How do you link to the Bhagavan? Then 7th to 12th is talking about bhakti. And then 13th to 17th is again talking about the process of jnana. And then 18th is again a conclusion, a summary of the entire thing. Now, what happened after this is something very interesting for us to know. Where did it go? Are you all there? Yeah.
Just a clarification, Prabhu. So Krishna spoke Sankhya Yoga, Sakama Karma and Buddhi Yoga. But Arjuna misunderstood. He thought that Krishna is prescribing the first one, Sankhya Yoga, over Sakama Karma.
Arjuna's confusion was, both Sakama Karma and Buddhi Yoga involves action, right? So sakama karma anyway he himself has rejected. But why is he asking me to again engage in action? That was Arjuna's confusion. He is seeing from the action column because in both the sakama and buddhi yoga, action is involved. So he was confused in his mind. But Krishna's point was he is talking from the detachment point of view, which is different. That's where the confusion happened. Now, going further. So the first two verses of third chapter is talking about Arjuna's doubts, and then we're already at 8:40. First two verses are talking about Arjuna's doubts. Then 3rd to 8, Krishna is talking about something very interesting, where he says disengagement is not the same. Disengagement is not the same as detachment. This is a very important principle which he establishes here. And it is very interesting to know this because sometimes people in the name of bhakti or in the name of spirituality think that I should just not do any action because action is leading to all these problems. So I should just become completely disengaged. This is what Arjuna's logic was. Because in action, why are you asking me to engage in action? Because action is leading to all kinds of problems. It is going to give me sinful reactions. I don't want to do any action. But Krishna very interestingly says in these verses, in this section from 3rd to 8, that not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So suppose if you think I will not work, I will just stay detached, I will not do any action, तो हो गया ना, मेरे को liberation मिल जाएगा, I will get freedom. What is the problem with that? Actually, Krishna uses very, very heavy word that, if somebody is just artificially trying to renounce and not do activities, he is a pretender. Why? Suppose imagine somebody is doing a fasting on Ekadashi. Okay. Ekadashi fasting किया, fasting का मतलब होता है जो संस्कृत वर्ड है उपवास. उपवास मतलब ये नहीं कि खाना नहीं खाना है. उपवास का मतलब है you have to sit close to the Supreme Lord. What does that mean? You have to increase your spiritual activities. But if the whole, during the upavas time, fasting time, Ekadashi time, you are either sleeping or you are thinking, कल सुबह किससे मैं fast break करूँगा? Some pizza लगाएंगे, then whole day is going on meditating, या खिचड़ी उसके साथ curd और आचार रहेगा, खाऊंगा उसको दबा के, then that kind of a thing, if it is coming, it is not fasting, it is not upavas. So what Krishna is telling here, just by merely abstaining, it is not good. Just simply, trying to abstain, saying that I will not do, but deep within, you are still attached to those things. So that is called pretension. So he is telling that renouncing action without internal detachment is actually a pretension, a pretender, he says. And then, these are all very important verses, very interesting verses, but for lack of time, I'm just going quickly. Something very interesting which is explained from 9 to 16, and this is what we want to discuss today. At least our focus should be that. From 9 to 16, Krishna is going to talk about a very important principle called yajna. Actually, this yajna is one of the most misunderstood thing in the whole Vedic literature. The entire Rig Veda talks about yajna. There are so many Vedic literatures which are talking about these principles of yajna. And if somebody understands what is this yajna which Krishna is talking about, our life will be very, very peaceful, very peaceful. So what is Krishna talking about? Actually, the principle of yajna, if somebody has to understand from the pages of Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand at the time of creation, when the Lord created this, he created two kinds of living entities. One is called the humans, and the other one is called the Devatas. And these Devatas are called the cosmic administrator. How do I go? They are called the cosmic administrator. Cosmic administrator. So this principle has to be understood very clearly. First of all, people think that I am alone in this whole material world. I am alone. I can do anything that I feel like. I am free to do any activities and I'll get away with that. It is not true. Our existence in this material world, the whole way the material world is created, it is a multi-dimensional existence. There are some people who are there at higher up, there are some who are below, there are some who are at par with us, but it is a multi-level multi-dimensional existence, and this will be more clearly explained in the 8th chapter. But mind you that there are some people who are invisible, who are the cosmic administrators, who are taking care of giving the wind to us, who are taking care of giving the rain to us, who are taking care of giving the sunshine to us. Like that, all these things are given by these cosmic administrators. And these cosmic administrators give this when we perform yajna. And what is that yajna? Huh? Yajna is actually translated by Krishna in this chapter as prescribed duty. When we do our prescribed duties, so that is why it is very important to know what is this prescribed duty. So when we do our yajna is equivalent to prescribed duty. When we do our prescribed duties, what is expected of us as a human being and not do whimsical actions, then the demigods get pleased. And when the demigods get pleased, they will sanction, all our necessities will be fulfilled. So there is a very interesting cycle, the yajna cycle, which is mentioned here in the 9th chapter. How do people live? Aryan, लोग कैसे जीते हैं? तुमको जीने के लिए क्या चाहिए? Huh? Food. Food? No, what did you say? Food. Okay. You're right. Actually, we all live on grains. Annad bhavanti bhutani. We don't need nuts and bolts. We don't need any of this mechanical things or whatever is produced in the machine, car, this thing. Nothing is required. For living, for surviving, we need grains. Annad bhavanti bhutani. Then where does this grains come from? Nature? Rain? Ground? Grains come from ground, but what helps the grain to come? Water. Water, where is it coming from? So they said rain. Rain is the right answer. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava. Parjanya is rain. How does rain happen? Okay, let's hear from Ananya. क्या बोलता है साइंस? कैसे होता है बारिश? वाटर साइकिल क्या है वो? The sunshine evaporates, it falls on the water bodies, it evaporates and it becomes cloud, and then automatically there is clouds, there is something happens, no? What happens? Heavy, okay, how? Huh? Huh. It precipitates, it condenses and then it falls down. It comes down as water. This is what we all have known, we have all read. But here there is a shift in our understanding which has to happen. What we are seeing is an impersonal way of describing the rain process. Like for example, if you come from Westboro to here, you'll find there is a traffic signal, okay? And the traffic signal, you come, it's a red light, so you are stopping there. And it is a green light, you are all going, right? When it is yellow light, you press your brake and you wait for it to become red and then you go. Now somebody who's coming, who's seeing it for the first time, a traffic signal in his life, he'll say, wow, this is nicely, one red is coming, one green is coming, one yellow is coming, and people are going, right? It looks like a very impersonal way something is happening. But somebody has put his brain behind it. Some traffic police is there who's there as a invisible person who is taking care of the whole thing. That is why this traffic signal, the traffic system is working. Same holds true for this water cycle or rain cycle that you are saying. There are controllers, there are devatas who are there, who are invisible, who are there. When they get pleased, they ensure that the water is falling, which we are saying that it becomes heavy, condensed, and then it falls. Actually, when they become happy, they give this rain. So the rain is actually annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava yagyat bhavati parjanya. So the rain is coming from yagya, and this yagya is nothing but prescribed duties. So I can say it as prescribed duties. So mind you, when we don't do our prescribed duties, that leads to all kinds of problems. That's what that verse was telling about. The pestilence, all the natural calamities, the disturbances in the form of famine or drought or whatever it is only when people forget about their prescribed duties. And when they don't do their prescribed duties, the yajna is not performed, then the demigods are not pleased and they don't give us our necessities. So where is this prescribed duties mentioned? This prescribed duties are mentioned in Vedas. And where is the Vedas coming out of from? Vedas is coming out of from Supreme Lord. So that is why, if you close the cycle, when the grains which is produced, it is actually a mercy of the Supreme Lord. That's why we offer the food to the Lord. That, this is your mercy that I am getting these grains. When we offer that, it becomes prasadam, and that is what is given in temples when people come, and that is sanctified food. It's a food which is free from all the reactions, because you are offering it to the Lord. Because of His mercy, everything is coming. This is called the yajna cycle, and this helps us to understand how we have to be careful about our prescribed duties, how much we should follow that. If we don't follow that prescribed duties, it leads to all havoc. Actually, we are not alone in this material world, even though it looks like we are all alone, but we are not. There is an invisible way we are all linked to, the cosmic, in this cosmic fabric, everybody is linked. There is a invisible thread in which we are all linked. A certain section of society, when they neglect their prescribed duties, when they don't perform their prescribed duties, it all leads to the disturbances, the imbalances in the society. All kinds of problems comes, the natural calamities happen, and all those things happen. So this is mentioned in the 9th to 16th. I will take another few sections. Maybe the lust part we will skip, but till that time we will go till 35th verse. There are a lot of very interesting concepts which are explained in this. Let us go to the next one. So then after that, if you understand that the prescribed duty is something very important, the next thing which Krishna talks about, actually, Arjuna's doubt that he had, which Prabhu was mentioning, Kulakshaya Kulak, that particular doubt that Arjuna had, when if all these people are killed, then there will be unwanted progeny or Varna Sankara, and because there will be adultery for the women and then unwanted population, that will lead to all kinds of disturbances. So one of the problems which will happen is, because of this unwanted population, they will not do the yajna. So even the previous generation, whatever pinda, lupta pinda dokam, so they will not give pitru shraddhas, they will not perform that, and that will also lead to further problems, degradation in the society. This was Arjuna's doubt. But here Krishna is telling that if you don't engage in prescribed duties, not engaging in prescribed duties, not engaging in prescribed duties, if you don't engage in prescribed duties, people in the name of enjoying, they don't want to get married, they don't want to have family life, they don't want to follow their prescribed duties, they want to do things independently. So not engaging in prescribed duties as per Krishna in this, or in the in this chapter, what Krishna is telling, it will lead to destruction of the social fabric. It destroys the social fabric. So there is also a mention about Krishna talking about some premature renunciation. Some people just think, some bekar hai, there are a lot of responsibilities, a lot of this thing, better I should become renounced. Not that they want to. The premature renunciation is always condemned throughout. Like if you see even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he sees Raghunath Das Goswami, when he wants to join, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, don't, renounce artificially. Be a pounds and shillings man. Develop the detachment within. That detachment from within is a very different thing. It is far superior compared to just merely renouncing worldly activities, just because it is burdensome or it is difficult or something like that. So, if somebody is not engaging in prescribed duties, that destroys the social fabric. In the verse number 17th to 19th, Krishna talks about something very interesting. He says that actually there could be, if you may think that, okay, so 99.99% of the people have to do their prescribed duties. Is there any exception? He's saying yes. There are some advanced souls, for them, actually these verses are very nice. Advanced souls, they don't need to do any prescribed duties. They are not supposed to do any prescribed duties. But then again Krishna says from verse number 25 to 20 to 35, he is talking about that he is giving the example that they have to do this prescribed duty to set example. To set an example for common people, they should perform their prescribed duty, and gives the example of Janaka, and he gives the example of himself, Krishna. Right, so to set example, yad acharati shreshtas tatta devetaro jana. However the leaders are performing, the other people will follow. There are two nice stories to talk about this, two nice this thing to understand this concept which Krishna is talking about. And there are two important verses which we will see, and then we will close. So the thing that Krishna is talking about, why they have to perform activities to set examples, and he is giving this example of Janaka and Krishna, is you see, the detachment can come from anybody. There is a nice story about a Sufi. There's a nice Sufi story about one person who wanted to take initiation from a guru. उसको दीक्षा लेना था, तो he went to forest. वहाँ पे एक साधु मिला, साधु बाबा. So Sadhu Baba was having long beard, and he was sitting there. He said, मेरे को दीक्षा चाहिए. I want to take initiation. So the sadhu said, I'm ready to give you initiation, but actually I have to take approval from my master, from my spiritual master, and I've been waiting to meet him for last 2-3 years, and I'm not finding him. So he said, as soon as I see him, as soon as I find my master, I will give you initiation. I'll check with him and I'll give you initiation. This man goes back, and he's saying, I'm not getting initiation, I'm anyway having some trouble, I wanted to get out of this samsara, this material world, and I'm not finding, I've found one guru, he's not ready to give me initiation. So better let me do some activities, some material activities. He found one cook who was from maybe some Orissa, Bihar or somewhere, and engaged him in some cooking services. So and then life was going on. So then one day he thought to himself, this Sufi guy, he said, Arey, my guru is not accepting me because his guru, his spiritual master is not there. He wants to consult with him. Let me at least invite him for some lunch to my house. So he goes to that Sadhu Baba with long beard, and he says, why don't you come at least to have some prasad at my house? So he comes, the Sadhu Baba comes, and when he knocks the door, the cook opens the door. So when the cook opens the door, immediately next moment the Sadhu Baba is not to be seen. So they are looking, where did he go? He was actually falling down at the feet of that cook. Actually the cook was his spiritual master, so whom he was trying to search, and where is he and what was he doing. So the reason why this story is told is to tell us this thing, that a person who may be engaged in some material activities, but he'll be very detached. But somebody who might be having this long beard and all may not be detached. So detachment need not come only from a person who's having saffron robe and long beard. That is why the example of Janak Maharaj and Krishna himself are given, who are grihasthas, who are kings, who are surrounded by material opulences, yet they are detached. There's another very interesting story which happens in the life of Janak Maharaj. Actually, Janak Maharaj was performing one sacrifice, fire sacrifice, and there were many sages who were seated there. And they were performing sacrifice, and all of a sudden Aryan comes running. Aryan was one of the soldiers in Janak Maharaj's kingdom, running, and oh, Janak Maharaj, your this thing treasury is on fire. So he says little loudly, said, hey, calm down. So doesn't matter. My treasury is on fire, no problem. My primary duty is to serve this sadhus. Let me be engaged in this. We will see that afterwards. So he goes back, and then the next soldier comes, Ananya, running. And then she's saying, Arey, now the fire has spreaded so much that it has gone to the place where the sadhus, they are living. The moment the sadhus heard that, immediately they ran from there. What is the position of a sadhu? He might have some one little clothes and maybe some potli, some eating stuff and all. For that they ran from that place. Whereas, the whole treasury of Janak Maharaj was getting burnt, yet he was not affected. He was detached. So detachment is a thing which comes from within. And it is only when the leaders set the right example that the people, in general can follow and can practice their prescribed duties. One of the very interesting definition of the Karma Yoga, or this path of the thing that we are discussing in this chapter, comes in the 30th verse, which we will see. But before that, I talked about some great examples. So you'll say that, okay, Janak and Krishna are very elevated. What about ordinary people? What about them? So actually, how do these ordinary people, how do they work? Ordinary people don't work because, the motivation, the drive for them is not that, they have to perform prescribed duties. What is the drive for them? The drive is not to perform prescribed duty, but rather the drive is they are working to satisfy their senses. Amol kuch bol raha tha.
I was saying attachment actually. Their
Attachment?
Yeah.
Actually, there's a very interesting verse which comes. What is that? Mind? No. And actually, they work to satisfy their false ego. They think they are the doers and they are entitled to the actions that they are performing, the results. Which verse it is? 3.27. Very interesting verse. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. I am the doer. That's what they think. And every single action that I am doing, it is, since I am performing this, I am supposed to enjoy this. That is what their mindset is. Prakrite kriyamanani. But actually, if you remember, I was talking about the three doers in another class. It comes in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says there is one who is desiring, there is one who is sanctioning, and there is material nature which is there, which is actually making it happen. What these people don't realize, the drive for them to do action is, I am doing it. By my intelligence, I am able to do this, which is a wrong thing. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudhatma. They are completely foolish. Vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. And they get caught up in the cycle of action and reaction. The definition of karma yoga is very nicely given in the 30th chapter. 30th verse. Very interesting verse. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmama bhutva yuddhasva bigata jvara. So this is a very powerful definition of what is karma yoga really. What exactly this is. And this is Krishna telling that first you have to surrender your works unto me. Okay? Mai sarvani karmani. You have to surrender your work unto me. Surrendering your work unto me. Surrender your work unto me with mind intent on me. So this is that aspect of bhakti which we are talking about. With mind intent, you have to surrender your work. You are not entitled to the fruit of your action. Fruit of your action. And the second thing is your mind and intent on me. Mind and intent on me. Then free from ego. Free from ego. And free from without desire for gain. Free from ego and without desire for gain. No desire for gain. Actually, if you tell someone you have to work, okay, and while you have to work, you are not entitled for the result of your action. You cannot, enjoy whatever fruits you are getting. A. B. You cannot think that you are doing that work. Both these things, when they are removed, desire for gain and desire from false ego, a person will not be interested in doing any action. मैं काम कर रहा हूँ, बट मैं उसका क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकता हूँ कि मैंने किया, और जो काम किया, जो रिजल्ट मिला, उसको भी मैं एंजॉय नहीं कर सकता हूँ, तो मैं काम करूँगा क्यों? But Krishna is telling that still you have to fight. Without lethargy, give up this lethargy and fight. Give up lethargy and fight. Fight is nothing but do our prescribed duty. This is what is the actually definition of karma yoga. People don't understand this. They think that karma karna hai, but the karma karne ke piche the most important thing is the intent. The intent behind doing action is very important. In Arjuna's mind, the confusion which was coming is he was thinking that the war is leading to sin. So if I have to avoid sin, if there has to be, if I want to avoid the sin, if there is no sin, then I should not do any work. There should not be any war. I should not do any work. This is what in Arjuna's mind. But what this verse, what this chapter is talking about, it is not just the action which leads to sinful reaction, it is our intent. It is not the action which leads to sin, but it is our intent. Intent which leads to sin. There may be two people who are doing the same actions, but what is the intent? What is the consciousness inside? That makes all the difference. Anyway, I am exceeding time. I'll stop here, but just to give you a summary of what we wanted to discuss and how, I don't know how much of it made sense, because that's why I told you have to read and come to appreciate this more. Let us just see what we discussed and see if you have any questions or comments on this. We started with this chapter of Karma Yoga. Why this Karma Yoga is important, and what is the importance of karma which is given in this chapter, which we were trying to understand. First, we spoke about the compassion of Arjuna, which he had, and how Krishna spoke about the Sankhya and Jnana, the knowledge of the soul and body. Then how Arjuna was having this doubt of loss and loss. He was thinking, if I lose kingdom, I'm going to lose, and if I die also, I'm going to lose. And how Krishna spoke about sakama karma, or the fruitive work. Then we spoke about the fear of sin, which Krishna was talking about, in the form of how Krishna counters that in the form of buddhi yoga. And which is buddhi yoga is action which is performed in the platform of jnana with an intent on bhakti. So we spoke about the three things which Krishna mentions, the Sankhya or the Jnana path, the Sakama karma and the Buddhi yoga. So how the confusion was happening from Arjuna's mind, where he's thinking from the action point of view, and he was getting confused between Sakama karma and Buddhi yoga, whereas Krishna was thinking from the other part. He was talking about being detached, whether it is Sankhya or Jnana or Buddhi yoga, both leads to the same destination. Then we spoke about how Krishna breaks down the detached engagement which is talking about. He breaks it down in this chapter in the form of dutiful engagement, and how the knowledge of engagement is explained in the 4th chapter. Then we saw the Arjuna's doubts, which are in the first 2 verses. Then how 3rd to 8 Krishna is talking about disengagement is not necessarily detachment, and we spoke about the example of somebody who's fasting on Ekadashi but meditating on the food, how he will break his fast the next day. That is actually pretension. 9 to 16 is yajna, and we spoke about the concept of yajna, which is given in 3rd chapter as prescribed duty, and how when at the time of creation the Lord created this creation is in multi-dimensional existence. There are humans and devatas who are invisible to our eyes, but they are the cosmic administrator. It is like, when we give tax to different ministers, the ministers give us the necessary facilities, like there is nice road, or the government, they take care of so many things, and they are taking taxes from us. Something similar to that. So when we do yajnas, when we satisfy them, that is why in all the households, if you see, there is a respect which is given to the devatas. It is there ingrained. We used to worship them, but we didn't have the exact understanding. It is not a pantheism, or it is not some polytheistic philosophy. It is still monotheistic, but these people are very special people. They have to be pleased by performing sacrifice or prescribed duties. And then we saw about the yajna cycle, which is the whole key. When somebody is doing prescribed duties, how he is freed from the reactions, and he is meant to do that. because we are not alone. There is an invisible way we are all connected. So not engaging in prescribed duties leads to the destruction of the social fabric. Then we spoke about advanced souls who are exempted from prescribed duties, yet they do prescribed duties to set examples. And the example of Janak Maharaj and Krishna we saw. Then the 30th verse we saw, how he's talking about what is the principle of Karma Yoga. Any question or any doubts you have? There are some very interesting concepts which comes after that, but I'll not go there. It's a little deep. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
So you told if we want rain, we have to do some sacrifice or something like that, some yagna.
Mm-hmm.
But in a place like over here, like in the US, there's a lot of bad karma. But there's still rain and all that stuff. But how?
Because devotees like us are performing Sankirtan Yajna, that is why there is rain, that is why there is some hope which is there. That not that everybody is sinful. Even there are people who are doing some kind of prescribed duties with a good consciousness, with a good purpose, that I have to take care of my family members, I have to take care of, there are responsibilities which are there. Even that thought, that it is my work is like a sacrifice. I'm sacrificing my time, I'm doing this austerity for a higher cause. That itself is good enough. But if somebody doesn't have that thought or that kind of consciousness, then that leads to all kinds of this thing, like what happened in Russia attacking this thing and all those things. It's grossly sinful activities, very, very sinful these things. The reactions come. So now what should we do if there is something like that which is happening around us? At least we should ensure that we are not deviating from our prescribed duties. We are doing it at any cost. We are engaging in prescribed duties. So as long as you are engaging in prescribed duties, you are free from the reactions of your actions. And what is that prescribed duty? As we saw in the 30th verse, where Krishna is telling, your intent should be on him, and not thinking that you are free from the false ego, and you're not entitled to enjoy the results of your action, and you have to not have lethargy, and then again do your prescribed duty. That's what Krishna recommends in the 30th verse.
Karma Yoga, there is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference?
Niskama Karma Yoga is taught by Krishna in the 5th chapter, which is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga, where he talks about that Karma Yoga is prescribed duty. He goes to the next level, which is the Niskama Karma Yoga. Niskama, kama is desire, and yoga is you are linking it with Krishna, and Niskama means free from desires to enjoy. And the same time doing activities to please Krishna. So this is basically that first thing that I spoke about, detached engagement. That is nothing but Niskama Karma Yoga, where you are doing your action, where you are in this material world performing your duties, but you are doing in a manner where you are not getting the reactions for that. That is what is Niskama Karma Yoga, which is very nicely explained in the 5th chapter from the verse number starting from that Brahmani Adhaya Karmani, that Padmapatram Ibhambhasa, that verse. From there onwards, for next 3-4 verses, Krishna explains that.
Krishna Prabhu, I do have a question. So since actually Arjuna confused, so I am too much confused.
You are always confused. But the whole purpose of Vedic literature is to remove that confusion. Yes, go for it.
Okay. So, as I understood, Sri Krishna was suggesting Arjuna to go ahead with Buddhi Yoga, right?
Uh-huh.
And then he said actually perform the actions on the platform of Yajna with flavors of Bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you consider, he's saying actually perform your prescribed duties perform your prescribed duties with detachment. Okay, so he got confused, and that has again engagement and disengagement, right? So bhakti says engagement, and the yajna says detached disengagement.
So what is your question?
Yeah, so what Sri Krishna was trying to tell Arjuna? I mean, I just want example actually. I may not able to
Get that,
understand.
okay. So basically what happened was, in the first chapter, so that's why reading is important. Pre-reading, if you don't do, it will become little more difficult, but I'll try to explain. It's very easy. It's not, Krishna has got no intention to confuse Arjuna. Arjuna, like, you and me, who do not have the right intent and the intelligence, we get confused. Arjuna's confusion at the beginning was, he was having compassion, ye sab mere bhai bandhu hain, inko kaise kill karunga, how will I kill? Then Krishna spoke about the difference between body and soul. That is the principle of Sankhya or Jnana. That's the first thing. Then Arjuna's second doubt was, with whom I'll enjoy? If everybody is finished, I'll have the kingdom, but it's of no use. And if I die anyway, I'm dying, it's over, finished. So both way it is a lose-lose situation. He said, no, it is not lose-lose, it is win-win. If you fight and if you win, you have the kingdom. So at least you have the kingdom, you enjoy. And if you lose, if you die, you will go to heavenly planet. So it is win-win situation. So that is also gone. Then he had a doubt that there will be sinful, this is a sinful, ghastly warfare. If I engage in this warfare, I'll have sin because the victory is tainted with blood. That is answered by Krishna in the form of Buddhi Yoga. The whole second chapter, the crux of that lies in that 39th verse. Esha te avhita sankhya buddhi yogam to imam shunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Krishna is asking him to engage in action, but in Arjuna's mind, the confusion came, you told about sakama karma, which is like, where you engage, fight with a desire to enjoy, that is sakama. You told about that, but then later on you only told that this is not required. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna, you are not supposed to do all this fruitive activity. You rejected that. So I am confused whether, then again you are telling in Buddhi Yoga that you have to engage in action. So that is the confusion Arjuna had. You are telling me to, first you told that sakama karma, then you only rejected saying that this is inferior, you should not do. Now again in Buddhi Yoga there is action involved. So what should I do? Should I work or not work? This is what Arjuna's question. So he is seeing only from the action point of view, but Krishna was trying to say that you have to learn the detachment in the heart, which is there even if you're not working. The Sankhya, process of Sankhya is your detached disengagement, right? You are not doing any action and you are detached in the heart. In the Buddhi Yoga, though you are acting, but still you are detached. So the detachment is common. So he was telling that, you take up to this path of Buddhi Yoga where action is there, but important thing is you are detached from that action.
Action does mean prescribed duties. Then what is the difference between detachment and disengagement?
Good question. Disengagement means you are not doing anything. पानी भी नहीं छुएगा आदमी, सोचेगा कि मैं पानी को छू लूँगा तो कुछ लग जाएगा, reaction आ सकता है. But you are doing engagement, and that engagement is called prescribed duties, but there is detachment in the heart. Detachment in the heart is different than disengagement. You are actually doing an action, but you don't, as a matter of duty, this is prescribed, so I am doing it, but I'm very detached in my heart. That is a very higher state. That is what is the Buddhi Yoga all about. It is possible by, in the platform of jnana, because without knowledge, kya karna hai, how will you do? So transcendental knowledge is required. Action has to be performed on the platform of transcendental knowledge, and a high amount of attachment to the Lord is required, that intent. So when we have a strong spiritual attachment, material detachment becomes possible. Because this is all temporary, this is truth. That has to be exhibited in the heart, not in our activities. Activities can be performed not for our self-satisfaction, not for the pleasure of the self, meant to please the Supreme Lord. That is what is the definition of prescribed duty. Action is not condemned. So, Vigata Jwara, he is saying till you fight, you have to fight. But how, when you are fighting, there are few considerations you should have in your consciousness. I am not entitled to enjoy the actions, the fruits of my action. I am not the doer, and mind and intent on Krishna. That is what is the definition of Karma Yoga. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would say, like, being a husband, I do have actions, that is prescribed duties, and I'm engaged, I'm doing that, but I do not have anything. I mean, I'm detached because I'm not taking any credits. Something like that.
So basically, now when you bring it down, okay, मैं अपने life में इसको डाल के देखता हूँ अभी मैं कुछ कर रहा हूँ. The whole point in the equation is you have to bring the Lord. The important aspect is having the spiritual thing in our life. That connect is required. Then it becomes Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. If that is not there, there is certain amount of detachment. You are doing it for your wife, you are taking care of your family. There is some amount of prescribed duty you are doing, which is good. But you don't have it. You don't have a higher purpose while doing that action. You are just doing it as, which is still good. Which is like, at least rain and all will come because the demigods will be happy. But the Buddhi Yoga process is the Supreme Lord is involved. Yoga means the Lord is involved in that. That is how it becomes a yoga. Yeah, in fact, actually, it is stopped at 30th verse, but if you go little further, Krishna says when you meet ordinary people, you should not impose this principle of detachment on them because they can't take it. They are used to taking credit for doing their actions, false ego. They are working on that false ego that I have done this work and they are enjoying. So don't thirst this on them. Don't impose this on them. Rather, very gradually, based on their nature, engage them in devotional service. That is how it leads to lust. Actually, the nature, when you try to engage someone in as per their nature in devotional activities, so it is the nature is, you have allowed it to flourish or blossom. So in the nature, there is something which is positive and something which is negative. There are some inclinations and there are some cravings. So the cravings also increase. So the challenge which comes, which Arjuna could think of, when I am engaging as per my nature, I will be doing things also which I am not supposed to. And then Krishna points out the reason why it will happen is because of lust. And that comes from mode of passion, Rajoguna. And then he leads to further this thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
But detachment, you saying the word detachment does mean attachment to the Lord.
The material detachment will come by attachment to the Lord. You can't artificially detach yourself. Very difficult. Possible. Yeah, the people, Jnana Marga, they do this. Neti, this is all false. This is all not my son, not my wife, not my child, not, this is all these things to contemplate and to have that kind of real, this thing, renunciation is very difficult. But when you attach yourself to the Lord, when you give engagement to all your senses, some spiritual things, naturally these material things will become detached. You will develop detachment.
Thank you so much.
It's an interesting chapter, but it requires attention. It requires some reading and contemplation. Then it's very wonderful. Actually, some of these purports which Prabhupada has written are very, very nice, very beautiful purports to understand this. People are yawning, अरे बाप रे कब छोड़ेगा ये छोड़ेगा कि नहीं छोड़ेगा अभी. It's unfortunate situation, but that's what we are in. Any other thoughts, questions? So does it make sense how the pestilence and this thing are coming? Because understanding that we are not alone is a very crucial, critical part of this yajna cycle, where some people may say then, okay, what about the devatas? Are there any prescribed duties for them or not? Okay, let me put this question to you. What about them? They have prescribed duties. What prescribed duties they have to do? So that is his prescribed duty. Okay, any other answer? आप जब तक बोल रहे हो सब ठीक है bro. वो एक that this performances which happens, no, you go to some Carnatic performance or something. That person will fully close his eyes, karega, and then he'll look at his fellow people who are playing musical instruments. They will have some indication. Yes, going on to the now. It is the time for crescendo. They'll go. Finally, everything closes. People will clap and go. Right, and then in this kind of a scenario, it is not a performance, right? So you are not So okay, पूरा जो भी बोलना है बोल दो प्रभु, हाँ हो गया, done, thank you, उठ के clapping करके चले जाएंगे. Moment it becomes one question comes. आता है, it is there, it is there but not coming. What about the Devatas? What do you think? That's huh? But doesn't it, isn't it looking unfair that somebody is sitting there and I have to do all my prescribed duties? If I do, he'll be happy and he'll give. Otherwise, he's not giving. That is fine. For our case, it is clear. What about these devatas?
They have to maintain the system, so they do have their prescribed duties.
But why they want our prescribed duties as a prerequisite for sanctioning? Rain is? We need to survive, they have to give. No, they should give. Irrespective of, like, Lord is maintaining all the atheists and demoniac people also. Why the prescribed duties are required for the devatas to sanction?
Deserve.
Lord is supervising whom? Be satisfied. If Lord is satisfied, they are also satisfied, then my question is, why they have to, why this condition that I have to do this prescribed duty for them to sanction?
The role is to maintain order in the universe. So the order is maintained when everybody performs their prescribed duty and they can be elevated. So because they are trying to get people to become sattva guna and elevated. So devatas are all in sattva guna and they want everybody also to be in sattva guna.
Sure, yeah, that's quite close.
Prescribed duties is synonymous to respecting the devatas, and in the Bhagavatam, in one Prabhupada mentions that the food that they eat is the respect that we offer. So that way they sustain.
Okay. When you're there, same thing. Basically, the order in the universe is maintained by performing prescribed duties. If we don't perform the prescribed duties, the cosmic order will be, there'll be a mess. That is why that's a must. It's a prerequisite for them to sanction. But if you are feeling envious, why these demigods are not doing anything, hum log itna kar rahe hain yahan pe, it is like a situation where you have gone for a vacation. Say for example, ab to jate nahi ho vacation mein, koi gaya hai. Amol, if you have gone to some vacation to some very exalted, not exalted, what is the word? Exotic. Some exotic place you have gone, and you have a nice hotel and you are staying there. You can't stay there eternally. Right? As long as you have money to afford, you can stay there. But you are not doing your duties also. You've gone for a vacation. You're not supposed to do duties. You're enjoying there. But the moment your money has come to an end, you have to come back to do your action. Something similar to that happens to the demigods, who are elevated people, who are cosmic administrators. They are enjoying their life there, so-called, and the moment their pious credit comes to an end, they'll have to come down. They don't do any prescribed duties. I mean, there is no prescribed duties for them, but they sanction. But they have to go there. It's a lot of this thing they have done. They have done a lot of sacrifice to reach there. Okay, any other question?
Prabhu, I thought, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I thought demigods had some, because when Govardhan Puja was happening, before that, when Indra sacrifices were being performed for Indra, so Krishna gives argument to Nanda Maharaj that why are you worshipping Indra? It is anyway his duty to give rain.
Yeah, I mean, they have to sanction because they are doing anyway their sacrifices. They are doing that. But we don't need to necessarily worship them and say that, please give us, please give us. That is done by the Supreme Lord's sanction, because he has only appointed these cosmic administrators. So the point, there is no duty for them. They have to sanction, and the sanctioning is subjected to the prescribed duties performed by human beings. The Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.